In 2005, I bought around 150 acres of land for recreational use. Over the years, while exploring the property, we discovered two undocumented cemeteries. The headstones were hand-carved, so whether that any inscriptions or dates were illegible, and some had no engravings at all. Fast forward to 2013, when I decided to build a cabin to replace the camper setup we'd been using. Almost immediately after, it felt like I'd stirred up something angry or unsettled. Strange things started happening. I'd walk into the cabin to find it completely overturned, furniture flipped, belongings scattered across the floor. No signs of forced entry, no broken windows, nothing stolen, just chaos seemingly at random. Then in 2015, on the eve of deer season, I invited some close friends to stay overnight and hunt the next morning. We arrived after work, planning to grill steaks, have a few beers, and catch up around the campfire. It was around 8 p.m. on a calm, cold Friday night. We were sitting by the fire, sharing stories, when everyone started getting hungry. I went inside to grab the platter of steaks, and as I walked back out to the patio, I heard a commotion. One of the guys said, "You didn't have to hit John with a stick, you could have just thrown it at his feet." Everyone laughed, but I had no idea what they were talking about. Turns out someone had thrown a 2-foot-long stick, about 1.5 inches thick, and it had hit John square in the side of the head. He said he'd been standing with his back to the fire when he heard the stick tumbling through the air before it struck him. At first he thought it was a prank, but I hadn't done it. The strange part, there was no wind, no trees within 50 feet of the fire pit, and no way a stick could have fallen or been thrown naturally. Everyone was spooked. They grabbed their rifles, pistols, and flashlights, convinced something was out there in the woods. We crept outside, listening carefully. About 100 feet away, we heard the unmistakable sound of slow footsteps crunching through the leaves. We shined our flashlights in the direction of the noise, but there was nothing, no person, no animal, just the sound of footsteps. 6 grown men, all seasoned outdoorsmen, were completely unnerved. We stayed on edge the rest of the night, but nothing else happened. Still, it was an experience none of us would forget. A few years later, in 2018, our kids were old enough to join us for hunting trips. During one gathering, the boys wanted to visit one of the cemeteries I'd mentioned earlier. After dinner, we decided to walk over there as a group. I grabbed my pistol and a flashlight, and the other men did the same. The cemetery was about 500-600 yards from the cabin, with a clear trail through the woods. About halfway there, I thought I heard footsteps alongside us, separate from our group. I brushed it off at first, but then my buddy whispered, "Who do you have in the woods?" That's when I knew I wasn't imagining things. I told everyone to stop and stay quiet. John, who'd been with us during the stick incident years before, muttered, "It's that thing again." We shined our flashlights toward the sound of crunching leaves, but there was nothing, no person, no animal, just the sound of footsteps, closer this time. We didn't stick around to investigate further. We all bolted back to the cabin as fast as we could. To this day, I have no idea what's out there, but I've learned not to venture into those woods at night. Whatever it is, it's made its presence known, and I'm not taking any chances.